All. Good morning and welcome to Furloughed with Vegan Pete, episode 6. I hope you're doing good today. I am doing good. I'm excited to be here sharing some of the stories I found for us to talk about. I think we found some fun ones today. Maybe I have a couple that I might get a little ranty on. We'll see about that. If I do get a little bit ranty and you don't like that,
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
I'm not going to apologize if I get a little ranty. If you're joining us for the first time here, the goal of this is for us to all share some laughs, talk about some of the days and news stories, and get a little bit of social interaction that we might be craving while we are stuck at home. You are more than welcome to call into the show and let us know what you think about some of the stories we're discussing. Join the Discord, hop in the On Deck channel, and I'll bring you live on air. If you can't call in, then let us know your thoughts in the chat. So, before the show started, I was chatting to a few of you and asking if you guys had anything you wanted to bitch about. KK said he wants to bitch about his raid group, which includes me. We did not get our clear last night in Final Fantasy XIV. But if you guys do want to come and bitch about something, you're more than welcome to do that. You can post it in chat. You can call in with anything you want to bitch about. That's what we're here for. Get stuff off your chest. Anything that you want to complain about, let us know. A little bit of breaking news this morning. Another presidential candidate has dropped out of the race. My man, Bernie Sanders, has suspended his campaign, aka dropped out of the presidential race. And honestly, it was about time. He was way behind. No way he was going to win. I'm super disappointed that it turned out that way. He was doing pretty well. And then all the center left just all conglomerated onto one person. And then it was over. After South Carolina, they all dropped out on Super Tuesday. And that was all they wrote for Bernie Sanders. But wouldn't you all, right now, wouldn't you all feel a little bit more secure if you had Medicare for all right now? Maybe you're like me and I'm furloughed right now, but after next week I could possibly be without a job at all and not have any medical health care. Wouldn't it be nice to have a little Medicare for all, just in case you end up in a situation where you lose your job and lose your health care through your job? So think about that the next time we have to choose a presidential candidate. What are they going to do for you? Because between the two right now, I don't know if either are really going to do that much for me. I think they all do a lot for the rich, not so much for the common person, which Bernie was fighting for. Chili Pepper says, now from what I've read online, now America has the choice of either Satan or Super Satan. I don't know if I would call Biden Satan, but and I don't know which one you consider Satan or Super Satan. I honestly don't know if Biden has what it takes to beat Trump. So that's going to be really interesting in November. I think he's going to play the whole Hunter Biden and the whole Ukraine situation up, just like he did with Hillary's emails. And that's all the election's going to be about. Conspiracy theories. I'm actually going to talk a little bit about today. Because that's how it went. It was just about Hillary's emails last time. It wasn't about content or substance. And his base just eats that up. I think it's going to be a replay. Biden will just rally the quiet Trumpers to show up to vote. Buckle up for another 4 years of this clownism. And, that's kind of what I thought. The people who voted for Obama and then switched to Trump in the election, that's who you had to win back. And I don't know if Biden's going to do it. Oh, are you going to talk about 5G? You guessed my conspiracy nomad. I am going to be talking about the idiots who believe that COVID-19 is spreading from 5G. But I wanted to talk a little bit about something. Since we're spending so much time at home nowadays, many people are either picking up new hobbies, rediscovering old hobbies, and I wanted to ask you all what you are up to. Are you trying anything new? Are you trying anything you used to like but haven't had the time for? I've been getting back into gardening. I used to love to grow stuff, but as I found myself with a longer and longer commute, it seems like as I've gotten older, I've moved further away from my job, which kind of sucks. Um, and I got new hobbies such as podcasting. Gardening fell by the wayside, so it felt good when I was outside preparing a garden plot a couple weeks ago. And then when my plants started sprouting, I started preparing another plot over last weekend, just a few days ago. My wife even got in on the action on that one, came out and helped. It was a really great time. I had a lot of fun doing stuff like that. And one thing I used to do a lot and enjoyed it a lot in school that I haven't done as much recently in my late 20s and 30s, I've even been getting back into reading, which is, if you listen to our Final Fantasy 14 podcast, you probably didn't even know I knew how to read, but I can read and I actually really enjoy it. And so that's even been something that I've been doing stuck at home. Rolly says, I'm coming in really quiet. I have my computer and headset maxed and I'm having a hard time hearing you. Looked to me like I was coming through pretty loud. Let me turn that up a little bit for you. Hopefully, because on my screen now it looks like I'm almost clipping every time. Hopefully that's okay. Plug in your headphones all the way. Sometimes that happens to me. Gotta get that last click. Good. You love to read too, Ace Kaneki? Alright. People say I'm coming in okay. Give it more than just a tip. You gotta go all the way in. You gotta get deep. But yeah, I've even been getting back into reading slowly but surely during my time at home. I'm sure that I'm using these hobbies partly as an escape from the news and my lack of job situation, but damn, I actually do kind of feel better doing these hobbies and having this time up than I did while I was working. And I think even more than what I'm doing, it's what I'm not doing. I'm not spending 30 to 45 minutes getting to work in the morning, and oftentimes more than an hour to get back home. And while I do have the anxiety and worries about having to find a new job, I'm really not missing having to sit in traffic day after day for a job that my job wasn't bad by any means. I actually enjoyed my job, but it wasn't necessarily fulfilling. You know what I mean? It's not like something I was super passionate about. So not having to sit in traffic has really reduced my stress a lot. There isn't much worse to me personally than having to sit in an hour of traffic after a long day of work and then having to do yard work when you get home. Traffic just sucks my energy out of me. I hate it so much. So overall, just having some time to do some hobbies that I enjoy again has actually probably helped me overall deal with everything. That might lessen with time. I definitely do miss work, but damn, I do not miss that commute. So let me know what kind of hobbies you guys have been doing. Are you trying to learn something new? Are you getting back into old hobbies? I want to hear from you in the days going forward. What are you working on? What are you doing to stay busy? Even if you're still working. If you're working from home, you have that commute time that you save. So maybe you can't start a whole new hobby, whole big hobby or anything like that, but maybe you used to really like reading comic books, and now you have a little bit of extra time. You can throw in another comic book every now and then. What comic book series are you starting? For anyone that likes comics, I really enjoy the series Rat Queens, which a lot of people seem to haven't heard of. So check that one out. Nomad says, being outside is always a good thing. I have really enjoyed gardening outside again. Unfortunately, for the last 3 days, it's been rainy here in San Diego, so I haven't been able to do much outside. All right, let's get to a little content creation stuff. Twitch has updated its nudity rules and has given a bit more clarification on what is acceptable or not. This has always seemed to affect women more than men. We always hear stories of a woman receiving a ban for wearing a thin strap top and another woman wearing the exact same top and not receiving a ban. So what that basically came down to is one woman was a little more packing than the other, had a little more cleavage showing than the other. Oh, Nomad wants to know what I am growing in my garden. I'll get to that after this story that we talk about. So it can kind of, and Twitch has reversed some of these bans as well. I think it kind of depends on how big their audience is. If you're a big streamer, Twitch has been willing to reverse bans because they don't want to shut that much people off and get the bad press from a big streamer. Ace Kaneki says he should probably go and review the TOS tonight. Like I said, it affects the women more so than the man, but there is going to be some good stuff in here that you should know. So these rules are probably never going to affect me. It's not going to change anything in my normal streams, but who knows? Maybe someone listening now is looking to get into the game and enjoys dressing sexy. Let's find out where the line is now according to Twitch. They say, we don't permit streamers to be fully or partially nude, including exposing genitals or buttocks. We do not permit the visible outline of genitals, even when covered. So you can't wear those tighties, Ace. You gotta not be able to, you can't wear your tighty whities on stream. If they see the outline, you're done. Broadcasting nude or partially nude minors is always prohibited regardless of context. There is no more banana hammocks. What about your Red Mage Glamour? I think that will be acceptable, KK. Carpan says, man, no more nipple cutout shirts for me? Fine. You know, I actually think I think males can actually get away with that. I think it's the female nipples they don't want. For those who present as women, we ask that you cover your nipples. We do not permit exposed underbust, which I assume means underboob, but cleavage is unrestricted as long as these coverage requirements are met. So as long as you got the nips covered, as long as the underboob is covered, you are allowed the cleavage, which I think is inside boob. I don't know how you would. I guess cleavage is cleavage. Everyone knows what cleavage is. They did not mention side boob specifically, but I would have. That's a hard one. Side boob may be considered under boob depending on how much is visible. So yeah, I would say that just going off of these requirements, a bra would be acceptable wear for a female streamer, which I think would be a big change because I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to broadcast in a bra right now. But I think a bra meets all these requirements. It's covering the nipple. There's no underbust. And, you know, if cleavage is unrestricted, that cleavage is unrestricted, baby. So test it out, all you females. Go stream in a bra. For all streamers, you must cover the area extending from your waist to the bottom of your pelvis and buttocks. You think bra is no, but some use bikini. So, well, they just changed it. It used to be a lot more vague, and they could kind of suspend you for whatever they thought was inappropriate. But they kind of left out that vagueness to it, and as long as you meet these requirements now, I think it could be okay. So that last one, in case you didn't hear, was must cover the area extending from your waist to the bottom of your pelvis and buttocks. Wait, so means got to cover stomach with that? I don't think it's your stomach. I would guess the waist. I guess it's a little bit different on every person. I would guess the waist is from about your belly button down. So from your belly button to the bottom of your ass, you got to have all of that covered. For those areas of the body where coverage is required, the coverage must be fully opaque. Sheer or partially see-through clothing does not constitute coverage. So you can't do like a lacy thing. If you're going to wear a bra, it can't be a lacy one where you're going to see stuff poking out. Augmented reality avatars that translate real-life movement into digital characters are subject to this standard, as is cosplay and other costumes. So you can't just say, oh, my cosplay is just a super sexy lady and get away with streaming in the cosplay that is very scantily clad. So no almost crotch shots. Fundraiser for Pete in a sheer bra. Has to be an opaque bra, not a sheer bra. There are some contextual exceptions though. For IRL streaming, broadcasters, their host, and invited guests engaging in general IRL streaming outside the home must follow standard body coverage exceptions. Those passing through the background of your stream are not held to the same dress code requirement, but broadcasting nudity is not permitted regardless of context. If accidental nudity appears on your stream, we expect that you take immediate action, remove the content, and take precautionary steps so it won't happen again. You should not focus your stream on anyone violating our clothing or sexual content standards. You will be held accountable for doing so to the same extent as if you were violating the standards yourself. So you can't go to the strip club. Oh, you can go to the strip club, but you can't show the stage. You can't show them dancing. But you can go just to have, $2 Steak Tuesday. Am I crazy or does this guy look like Jon Snow? Hey, I will take Jon Snow all day. I usually get Will Wheaton. So I will take Jon Snow today. Newstein. So IRL streaming, I don't think anything's really changed too much, but I guess you won't get in trouble if something accidentally happens in your background. I haven't heard about this regarding nudity too much in the past, but I have heard about this with violence. Like I know people have been like out streaming IRL and then a fight has happened to break out that was on their stream and they've gotten banned for broadcasting violence. So hopefully they make that change too, as if it's accidental, as long as they move their camera right away, then they won't get banned for that. I hope that change comes as well. Did you catch the news? Sanders dropped out? I did. I was very sad about that. Moving on to exceptions, swim and beaches, concerts and festivals. Swimwear is permitted as long as it completely covers the genitals, and those who present as women must also cover their nipples. Full coverage of buttocks is not required, but camera focus around them is still subject to our sexually suggestive content policy. Coverage must be fully opaque even when wet. Sheer or partially see-through swimwear or other clothing does not constitute coverage. So you can still go to the beach and do some IRL streaming. It sounds like you can wear a thong and be okay as long as you're not like just only focusing on the butt. And as long as if you present as a woman, as long as you cover your nipples. For body art, this has been an issue. I've heard of people getting banned for doing their body painting streams. They say body painting is permitted in streams focused on or actively creating content, i.e. painting. Full chest coverage is not required, but those who present as women must completely cover... These people really hate nipples. But those who present as women must completely cover their nipples, and not just the nipple. The nipples and areola, they mention in this one. Must cover their nipples and areola with a layer of non-transparent clothing or paint, or a paint and latex combination. Artist-grade pasties, tape, or similar alternatives are acceptable. This coverage must be applied before the streaming begins, not on stream. Buttocks and genitals must also be fully covered by opaque attire. Streamers are given some leeway for making transitions between contexts with different limits of acceptable attire, like going to the beach and then coming back indoors. In these situations, streamers are expected to only spend as much time wearing insufficient attire as needed, and they are to add clothing or change off-screen into clothing with appropriate coverage for the new context. So you can't be at the beach wearing your thong bikini, coming back inside, starting playing games. You can't just stay in that. They want you to change. The standard chest coverage requirements outlined above do not apply to individuals actively breastfeeding a child on stream. What if you make a beach set in a garage? Well, I guess if you can still convince Twitch that wherever you're broadcasting from is a real beach, if your beach set is really good, maybe that's okay. But if you have like a cardboard cut out of a shark that you painted gray, I don't think that's going to cut it, Chili. So, for all of those of you looking to get into the stream game, those are the requirements that you have to watch out for. Katie Brand says, if I get a camera into the club long enough to film and not die, I'll take the Twitch punishment. Baby cardboard shark, do. All right, so I was asked, I don't really have anything to add to this. I think generally it's okay. For some reason, they really hate women's nipples. I thought it was interesting that in pretty much everything, they say the nipple needs to be covered. And then for body paint, it was the nipple and areola. So I wonder like if you can get away with showing areola as long as the nipple is covered for some parts. Everyone create a new account and test these rules. But as that's what I'm growing in my garden. I'm growing a few things right now. In the small garden that I started first, I did green beans and tomatoes. And my green beans have started to sprout, and they look like they're doing really good. I think I planted 21 seeds, and it looks like I have about 18 that have grown so far, which I think is a pretty good germination rate. And then I also have tomatoes growing in the same plot. And those are so small that I can't really tell how many have sprouted up, but I think I'm getting a pretty good germination rate on those as well. I overplanted those a little bit just in case, and I can move them, or if they get too crowded, I can just pull some out because I had a ton of tomato seeds. And then on the new plot we made, we bought a jalapeno plant and planted that. And we bought a bell pepper plant and planted that. And then the other stuff that we started from seed was some cabbage, some eggplant, some cantaloupe. I think we did carrots and turnips and beets. So we got a lot of stuff going in there. And then I have a little vegetable or a little lettuce garden as well, where I'm growing some lettuce, some chard, and some kale. So in a few months, hopefully I don't have to go buy any veg for a long bit, because 21 bean plants should keep me provided for quite a few days. All right, so that is all I had on the Twitch changes recently. Yesterday, we talked about how the UFC was still continuing on during this pandemic, and they had a secret location for UFC 249. On the 18th of this month, which was when it was scheduled to go, and of course, after that, they had Fight Island scheduled. It was curious, though, where they were going to have UFC 249 take place, because even without an audience, the amount of fighters, trainers, UFC employees, TV broadcast crews would be above the amount many states have for letting people gather in. Well, the New York Times is reporting that the plan for UFC 249 to take place in California. So you might ask yourself, isn't California one of the most locked down states right now? Yes, you are correct. California actually has a ban on combat sports through the end of May. But of course, there's a technicality. UFC has secured land from the Tachiyokut tribe, part of the Santa Rosa Indian community. Therefore, the event neither falls under the jurisdiction of the California State Athletic Commission nor the stay-at-home order from State Governor Newsom. So the actual arena on this land is called Tachi Palace and has a history of hosting MMA fights. Prior to California legalizing the sport in 2006, this is where companies would go to have their fights in California. I'm sure this is a good payday for this tribe, but I think if I was in charge of making this decision, I would not be letting a whole bunch of people on my land to possibly infect my people. This virus can be spread by people who aren't showing any symptoms at all. So it's not like you can even give everyone take their temperature when they come in, screen them a little bit. Unless you're actually giving people all the tests and getting immediate results, I wouldn't be letting people on my land to possibly spread this. Because like I said, just the amount of people coming on, regardless if there's going to be an audience or not, you have the potential to have this spread on your tribal land. And that would be absolutely horrible. We have heard some Navajo tribes experiencing coronavirus in higher numbers, and they don't necessarily have the hospital system, the healthcare system to deal with all of it. So this could be a bad thing. I hope it gets canceled now that I know what it is and what they're doing it. If this dude was just going to do his fight island and have a private island with no native people on it really, and he's just building an arena, I would have been fine with that, even though there's still a risk to fighters. At a certain point, it's like football to me. It's like, you're risking your life when you go and play. You're risking getting CTE, because there's pretty much a consensus on CTE now, it feels like. And you have some personal choice. And if everyone's making that personal choice to get in the ring, if the trainers are willing to do it, if they're willing to risk themselves, then hey, that's fine. But since there's so many people on this land that aren't necessarily making this choice, I don't think this should go on anymore. I think they should cancel it. Just wait until you got your island. Just wait until you have Fight Island. So I mentioned it at the top. There is going to be a little bit of a conspiracy story I wanted to talk about today. I had heard about 5G conspiracy theories regarding COVID-19. But I never really gave it much thought because I'm not a conspiracy theory person. I generally think people are too dumb for a conspiracy to be possible. Really quickly, before I get onto this little side tangent on conspiracy theories, I watched episode 3 of Tiger King that focuses on the disappearance of Carol's ex-husband and the possibility that she may have been the one to kill him. And first of all, bravo for the filmmakers to make such a sensationalized piece of work to get people all riled up about this. But I'm not buying it because I don't think there's a snowflake's chance in hell that lady is smart enough to get away with murder. And I don't care how many backcountry yokels they put on screen going, I think she did it. I think she did. No amount of those people are going to change my mind. That episode was like a Fox News segment on Benghazi. But this was for entertainment, not news. So I thought it was a crap episode, so that will not be warranting a full review. We're not going to review episode 3 of Tiger King. So back to the 5G conspiracy. Apparently there are people out there that will watch something on YouTube and just be like, all right, that's true. Not going to do any more research. So-and-so red pill has convinced me 5G is spreading the COVID-19 virus through all the 5G cell, what are they called? Cell bars? Whatever. and spreading like it's a biological weapon, not something that occurred naturally. Cell towers, that's what it is. More than 20 cell towers in the UK have been damaged or destroyed by people in April. This was just over a 4-day period when this article was written. It's its own epidemic. People destroying UK towers because they're dumb. The suspected reason is because of this 5G conspiracy. We're having a pandemic. So first of all, everyone should be inside. Second of all, why are you damaging equipment that helps you communicate with people? What if there was like a fire or something and you needed to call 911 with your cell phone, and because some idiot knocked out a cell tower, you had no service to call in that emergency? Ace Kaneki saying, what about 3G and 4G? What did they do? No, they don't care about the past. They don't care about science. Miko saying, I mean, they didn't say those cause cancer. Yes, people have always worried about cell signals causing cancer. And to be fair, I think it's a issue that should be brought up. It should be tested. And then once we do some studies, we find out, hey, they don't cause cancer. So it's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to use science to figure stuff out. But it's not okay to just talk bullshit about stuff. And thankfully, YouTube is suppressing these videos now of people spreading these 5G conspiracies. So good on YouTube for doing that. A says, but the same people who are 5G is killing us will be using their smartphones like there is no tomorrow. Exactly. They're all using 5G right now anyways, or many of them. It's not super widespread 5G yet, but it's definitely rolling out. And good morning to you, Susan. Thank you so much for hanging out. And I know Twitch has been turning off notifications on some channels. I'm like, man, that person, I wanted to watch them today and I didn't get the notification. So yeah, you should not be doing this because you're potentially knocking out a form of communication that can be used in an emergency. Stop it, people. And let's think about this for a bit. Let's pretend that transmitting a virus that affects humans was possible to digitally transmit through cell towers. I guarantee that if a biological weapon like that has existed, then the US would have used it on some poor country by now. And if it was a thing, Donald Trump would definitely be bragging about how our virus cell towers are the biggest and are the baddest. They're so bigly, they're going to do the most damage. He would definitely be bragging about how good ours are. Moving on from that, why would any of these cellular companies agree to have their towers used like this? You can't make money off of dead people, and companies are in the business of making money. Let's talk about timing. 5G starting to be more rolled out across the world now, but it's been around in cell phones for over a year. It has been tested for longer than that. Why wouldn't there have been any other cases previously? The only way anything would make sense regarding a conspiracy like this would be if a terrorist organization figured out a way to digitally transmit human viruses, was able to hack into privately owned companies' infrastructure, and able to broadcast it without any interruption of service and be undetectable. Which leads back to my original point about conspiracy theories, that people are too fucking dumb to make this shit happen. The US is the most powerful country in the world. And we invaded Iraq because President Bush said they had weapons of mass destruction, and even he was too dumb to plant a few chemical bombs over there to justify it. It's too hard to get these conspiracies to work out. These theories just depend way too much on people being way too smart and way too capable. Yeah, Caterpan saying we couldn't even engineer the virus. We wish we could. Yeah, if you could engineer this virus, you would already have a vaccine for this virus. Susan says these events have simultaneously brought out the best and the worst in humans. I totally agree. It's amazing, and we've talked about many stories like this, the human spirit during times of crisis and how people come together. But I don't know what it is with conspiracy people. I don't understand how people can't do their own research and just like, you don't have to do much research at all to debunk 99% of conspiracies. Miyako says, the last I heard about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq was a donkey carrying a bunch of fireworks. Well, California, where it's really dry and can go up like that on fire, maybe a donkey with a bunch of fireworks is a weapon of mass destruction. Cater says, I work with some of the leading crop genomic engineers. If they could make this, we would solve world hunger overnight. All right, that's interesting. Chili says, I'll be honest, I enjoy some of the videos though mainly the Shane Dawson stuff. Yeah, I've only seen Shane Dawson videos from like other people reporting on Shane Dawson videos, and I don't know what kind of conspiracies he focuses on. I think the last one that I saw someone reporting on was on the H3 podcast, and they were showing his conspiracy of Chuck E. Cheese taking uneaten slices of pizza from tables and just like sticking them together to make another full pizza to serve. But I thought it was ridiculous because they didn't have any proof other than like pizzas just not lining up, which if you do like a half pepperoni, half sausage or something, and you cut it, take half from this one and stick half on that one, like it wouldn't match up. And even the same pizza, if you just cut it, 8 slices, you take 4 and you put them on one side and then you like turn the other 4, it wouldn't match up either. So it could all depend just how they're plating shit. Nomad says, flat earth, anti-vax, 5G. It's amazing lately how much traction they get. Thanks, internet. Yes. Like the pandemic bringing out the best and worst in people, the internet has been its own sort of pandemic. And the internet has always brought out the best in the worst of people. I almost wish there was way less anonymity on the internet, because I think people wouldn't say the outrageous shit that they do if we actually knew everyone. But I know that's not possible, and doxing is a big thing. But if people didn't have the anonymity that they did on the internet, I don't think people would say half of the shit that they do. Chili Pepper says he did one on Dasani water recently on how it's not normal, really normal water. How could water not be normal water? It's just water. You worked with the flat earther nomad, also someone that didn't believe in dinosaurs. Was it a religious thing? Well, religious people aren't flat earthers. I know a certain amount of religious people are the no dinosaur people. We have like people just think people go around planting dinosaur, like fake dinosaur bones. Like, how does that even make sense? Dinosaurs are real. Dinosaurs were around for longer than they've been extinct, which is a crazy thing to think about. Humans are a fucking recent development. Did you write fuck Jay and Silent Bob, fuck them in their stupid asses? I don't know what that quote is from, KK McLeod. So my friend asked his girlfriend if she ever had some dihydrate monoxide, and she said no. So what's dihydrate monoxide? Is that oxygen? No, oxygen is just oxygen. Is that carbon? I don't know what the dihydrate. 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. Oh, is that what H2O is? I've never heard it spelled out that way. I always go, you ever had H2O? Some people believe God planted dino bones to test our faith. Belief is a weird thing, isn't it? Sometimes I say believe too much. I'll be like, I'll believe something when it's more my opinion on something. Because you can say you believe in something with having absolutely no facts about something. I can believe there's a unicorn in my ass. Can't prove me wrong. Because it's an invisible unicorn that no one can see. No x-rays can pick it up. So, never try to win an argument saying you believe something. You need to have facts. But let's move on, because I have a feeling conspiracy theories can have a whole new life in some future episodes. I just need to find some conspiracy theories to debunk. We did get some cool news yesterday on the PlayStation blog. We got the first official picture of the PlayStation controller, and I think I can bring that up for you guys right now. There it is. There it is. It is called the DualSense controller. So we've moved on from the DualShock 4, I guess. PlayStation 4 was the DualShock 4, to the DualSense. And let's talk about the name first. I think the DualSense is named as such because of the haptic feedback that the controller will be giving. The blog post goes on to detail that the new remote should be able to really give you the slow grittiness of driving through the mud or the tension of drawing a bow to shoot an arrow. Another thing it will be able to sense is your voice. For the first time, the controller will have a built-in microphone that you'll be able to use without a headset. And Broly says, looks like an Xbox controller with a D-pad and analog swapped. It does have a little bit of a Xbox controller on it. I do think that the handle portion is a little bit thicker. Nomad says, looks nice. Not too much of a departure, which is a good thing. And Chili's posting a link where people are making a fan art of the controller. And Caterpants says, oh man, that controller's going to hear a lot of fuck, no, fuck. Now, I think there's going to be a new conspiracy theory that everyone's controller is listening to them all the time. So you're going to mention something to your friend while you're playing some Call of Duty, and then all of a sudden you're going to get an email from Amazon trying to sell you some Mountain Dew. Something like that. Oh, man. Talking about Mountain Dew, we're going to go off on a little tangent here now. It reminded me of a thing Adam Carolla used to say on his podcast, which is he wished he could put sterilization agents inside all the Mountain Dew so that the people that drank Mountain Dew couldn't reproduce. I wish, to tag on that, I wish there was technology that could be, I wish there was like viruses that could be spread digitally. So we could put a sterilization agent into all these conspiracy theories YouTube channels. So when people watched them, they were unable to reproduce. I think that would be a good thing. So I'm tagging on the Adam Carolla train with his Mountain Dew. I'm extending it to all the conspiracy theory channels. We're going to create a sterilization digitally through viewing their channel. Get on it, scientists. So overall, I really like this new controller. To get back on subject. I really like the two-tone. I know some people were complaining they do not like the two-tone of white and black. Majority of it is white, but I do like the black accent on it with the dual sticks and the triggers as well. I think it looks pretty slick. I think it looks a little futuristic. And of course, there are going to be more color options. They're going to put this shit in every color to sell to anyone who wants it. One of the biggest complaints that I saw on the PlayStation Reddit was that they got rid of the colors on the square, triangle, X, and circle. But that doesn't bother me at all. I quite like it, actually. I always thought the colors were a little bit childish. And I know it's part of their branding for a long time, but it's not something that I would miss by any means. I think it looks really slick, futuristic. I like it a lot. Um, but I thought the Tesla truck looked really cool and awesome too. So I don't know if I'm the best source for what is cool or not, or what looks good. Chances are Sony will sell colored buttons to replace. Ooh, I've never heard of them selling button replacements. Are all the buttons touch rather than actual buttons? They don't look raised. I think they are. I think it's just I think they're clear on top, almost like the printed portion of the square, triangle, and circle is lower than the actual like resin on them is. I think it looks like a clear resin to me. It's hard to tell in this picture though because it's from right overhead. Yeah, that picture's probably too small to see it, but they are physical buttons. They're not just like a touch screen or anything like that. I believe this is the first PlayStation controller to not have all black controllers as their standard base controller color since the PlayStation 1. I think the PlayStation 1 was gray, but I think 2, 3, and 4 were all black by default. Nomad says, I doubt this is the final version 2. We shall see what ships. The blog post did say they were shipping these to developers. So I suppose that something could change because they aren't in full production yet. But I think this is what we're going to get in terms of features, the amount of buttons. I think what, if any changes are, it's going to be very close to this controller. I don't think they're going to deviate too much. Something that you also might notice is that the light bar on the DualShock 4 is gone on the DualSense, and it's getting moved to the sides of the touchpad. So to the left and right of the touchpad, that's where you're going to get the color from the light bar. It's going to light up. So it's not going to be as big. I think it's going to be more of just an accent color. And I really don't know what this light bar was for, other than the few like Wii style games that the PlayStation 4 had. Hey, I guess their VR game. So I don't know if that's going to have the same purpose on there, because it doesn't look as visible from the other side. So if maybe they're not focusing as much on VR anymore, or it's just not necessary anymore to have it on the back like that. But I like it. I always thought this thing was stupid on the DualShock 4. I didn't like it. It just kind of like took away from a really sleek looking controller. And I like how the touchpad just kind of like blends in flawlessly to the rest of the controller now. Like how it is now is very like, well, I guess if you had a black controller it wouldn't be as obvious, but I'm looking at a gold one right now. And Chili says the PSVR headset uses the light to help keep track, and the new VR headsets have an internal sensor now. Okay. And KK says to differentiate between players of 1 and 2 sometimes. And if you hurt it, it changes color. If you take damage, it changes color. Well, I would never even saw that because I'm never looking at the back of the controller. So if they can just do that with the accent light on the sides, way better. Chili says you can use the old DualShock controllers with the PS5 or PSVR backwards compatible games. Well, that is good to know, because it seems like controller prices for the PlayStation have been around $60 retail for quite a while. I would not be surprised if they get a $10 price increase or something like that. I think it's about time for that. What do you think about it? They're kind of cheap. Like, games are cheap compared to what they used to be. Way back when, games were still $50 and now they're only 60. That's not a big jump. Something else that is different now that I'm looking at this DualShock is they are moving away from the USB mini plug to charge, and they are going to USB-C, which I think is a good change, because I always have USB-C cables laying around. I don't have that many USB mini cables laying around, so if I lose a mini, I'm like, I have to go buy another one. Can't just replace it with one I have. I have like a ton, because USB-C is used for my phone. It's used for a lot of things. Chili says, I hope it has a headphone jack. They did not mention the headphone jack. All they mentioned about was a internal microphone, but I have to imagine they were going to have a headphone jack as well. Cater Pants want wireless charging. They did say it was a rechargeable battery. They did not mention any wireless charging, but they said they are still going to be coming out with features for the controller, or they're going to talk about the features for the controller leading up to the release. And yeah, as for like the other big difference I mentioned at the very beginning, the handle grip part of the controller seems a little bit wider, like a Xbox controller would be, and which is good. I think people with bigger hands probably appreciate that a little bit more. I think some people thought that the standard DualShock was a little bit small, but we will see. And they also changed the name of the share button. It will now be called the create button, but they didn't detail why or what other changes to the function there will be. So we'll have to stay tuned to see what changes the share button, now called the create button, will have. And overall, from the picture and the information in the blog post, I think it's a pretty damn sweet controller. I love the look of it. Two-toned, changing up the form factor as well. It seemed like it was due for a makeover, and I'm glad they did it. I can definitely see a lot of purists being upset with it, though. We'll see. People are definitely making their own controller mock-ups, and some of them are really boring. If you just painted this thing all black to look like a regular PlayStation controller, do better. That's boring. Who cares? You don't need to make a mock-up of that. If you just say you wished it looked like the original, people would know what that meant. Don't waste your time doing mock-ups. We all know what that looks like. But that was my last general story of the day. As always, I like to try to end on a good one. So I have a story from Italy, who has been hit hard by the COVID-19. But in Naples, people are still showing their generosity and their giving spirit. Naples people have started solidarity baskets to help the homeless. They have lowered baskets from their windows onto the street with signs that say, "Those who can, put something in. Those who can't, help yourself." So they've been lowering these baskets with those signs with whatever food they can afford to give out. And then people who are going to the grocery store and returning can drop something off in there as well. So the homeless people can come to these baskets and get themselves some food to survive. So I thought that was pretty awesome to hear about. And so even though Italy has been hit very hard by COVID-19, the giving spirit is still alive, and these acts of charity have really been taking off. And I thought that was amazing to hear, because we do have to take care of those most vulnerable in society. We really have to start building from the ground up with some things instead of trickle down that we always hear about, that rich people like to tell us about. You can't wait for the trickle down. You have to build from the bottom up. And we have to take care of the most vulnerable. And Italy seems to be doing that, or the people of Italy anyway seem to be doing that, taking care of the homeless. But that is going to be it for today. Thank you all so much for coming and participating, giving us all that social interaction that we've been missing out on stuck at home. I'm aiming to do this every weekday at 10 a.m. So I hope you all join me again. And if you have any suggestions, join the Discord and leave any feedback in the Furloughed with Vegan Pete section, and I will take that into account. I want to talk about stuff you guys want to talk about. So if you have any stories you'd like to suggest, do it in there as well. So thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me today and hanging out with each other. And I will see you again tomorrow. Goodbye.